Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Nebraska Ed Leadership Live Show. I'm Andrew Easton with the ESU Coordinating Council, and I'll be your host for today. And really the stars of our show here are the NDEC team, our partners Julie Downing, Ryan Rickabaugh, and Jeff Gilbertson, who are with the NDEC team. And so in collaboration with that organization, supported by the Nebraska Council of School Administrators, this series is about showcasing Nebraska's education leaders and connecting us all with the opportunity to explore each other's kind of stories and perspectives. And so today we're really thrilled to welcome leadership from Crawford Public Schools. And so Keri, Homan, and Matt Stetson are joining us for today's episode. And Julie's going to really guide our conversation over the course of our time together today because she's had the opportunity to work pretty closely with them. And so we'll start by just welcoming Keri and Matt. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, looking forward. So, Julie, give us a little bit of the backstory, I guess. You were in our conversations, you're like, we would love to reach out to Keri and Matt, have them on the show. What was kind of the SEED team's conversation behind the scenes that led to that invite?
So Crawford Public Schools is part of ESU 13, and I've gotten to work with them for a long time. Worked with Keri as the principal when she was new there for, 10 years, maybe. And she's a new superintendent in Crawford. And Matt and I go way back. We grew up as teachers together out here in the Panhandle and got to watch him move into leadership. And he is a new principal in Crawford. Both came with experience in leadership, but both in their first year as superintendent and first year as principal in Crawford. And we always love to highlight our Panhandle leaders and, showcase them for our state as well. So I was tickled when they said yes.
Absolutely. And beautiful part of the country there, too, for those that have not been in the Panhandle. You definitely have to make the trek because I absolutely love anytime I get a chance to head that direction. But throughout today's live show, we want to remind folks that you have the opportunity to write a question in the comments, and then we can bring that in to the show live here. So feel free to do so. If you're inclined to bring in a question, we'll probably do that near the end of today's episode. But to start with, Julie, you've been queuing up these questions for us. What's the first one?
Okay, we're going to start with, actually, this is Jeff's question, but we know that rural school leaders wear a lot of hats. So what are some roles that you currently are playing that maybe surprised you? We'll start with Keri.
Well, I was lucky enough that I was the principal in Crawford prior to becoming the superintendent. So I kind of knew the school, knew the teachers and staff. But I think every day it's a different role. And I really look at it as I'm going to do anything that I'm going to ask any of my staff members to do. So you could see me, and I would say Matt's probably going to say the similar things, but if you need to work in the lunch line, helping do that, do lunch duty, recess duty, we do all of that. We've probably both subbed in classrooms. And then, if you need to sweep the floor during a basketball game, then you step in and you do it because we have a very small staff and we know that there's times that people are sick or they're with their own families and they can't always be there. So you just have to do what you do to make everything work.
Thanks. Matt, what would you add?
Yeah, well, a lot of the same stuff. For instance, we just a small thing, but I wasn't planning on having to do it. We got 2 new TVs donated to us graciously for our commons area by the gym, and so it allows people to watch basketball games. Well, now I get to be the tech coordinator with that, I guess. And so that's been, but just little things like that, like Keri said, yesterday we had a staff member who had to go home. So I'm sitting at the front desk while I'm supposed to be doing some investigations on something. And it's just a lot of different stuff. The days go by very fast. That's for sure. You don't just sit in your office in a small school like this and do paperwork. That's for sure. You're out and about all the time. Like Keri said, filling in for different people.
Yeah. So a belief you both hold, and we see this across our state, is that idea of servant leadership and service to those you work with and those you serve. So thank you for that. I know that instructional leadership has been a big topic in our state, and it's a big topic in our Panhandle, and it's a big topic at Crawford Elementary and Crawford High School. So talk to us about what's something that you're leading in instruction this year and maybe how you're keeping staff balanced and not overwhelmed?
Well, I can't promise that they're not overwhelmed, because I think, there's always new initiatives and new things. But one of our driving forces right now is really a lot of curriculum work. And we are working with the Curriculum Leadership Institute. And so in the next year, every core class or core subject area will have written their own curriculum alongside this. And we started at ground zero with, okay, what are we really teaching? And then we aligned it to the standards. We found that there were places that we weren't teaching standards, and then we were teaching things, similar things in different grade levels. And so we were really able to fine tune that and make sure that we were teaching what we needed to in each grade level. The important part about that is being in a small rural school, we do tend to have a lot of turnover. And so this is going to make it so when we do get new teachers, the curriculum is laid out and ready for them.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, and to add to that, it's something that Julie's been working with me. She's coaching me, and I don't have a real strong elementary background. I served as an elementary principal at Rushville for 2 years, but other than that, secondary teachers. So I reached out to her. My big concern is I want to help our teachers. Like Keri said, we have a lot of young teachers, a lot of turnover, and I just want to help the teachers in the area of reading instruction. And so she's been coaching me, and we're using the instructional practice guides here that the State Department of Education has put out. And so she'll come over. As a matter of fact, she's coming over, I believe, next Monday, Julie, Monday or Tuesday, to we just do walkthroughs, and we use the instructional practice guide just to, look at, hey, so here's phonics being taught. This is what it should look like. And it's just been a real blessing to help me to know what to look for to help the teachers moving forward next year and everything. And so that's been a real good thing for instruction. And just being in all the classrooms, just doing observations like every principal does, just offering suggestions, hey, you might want to communicate this better with the students, and just little things like that. But yeah, certainly the reading instruction has been kind of a focus of mine and Julie. So.
Yeah, I think it's always a good day when Crawford's on my calendar, and I just appreciate the culture that Matt has kind of set around that, because he's really set himself up as the lead learner. And when we're in classrooms, teachers are helping him, they're helping me, they're helping the whole process, so that we're all kind of speaking that same language around that IPG instruction practice guide. So thanks, Matt. Jeff, I'm going to have you jump in. Do you have a question about, you have a question.
I do have a question. Thank you. Thank you, Matt and Keri, for being on the show today. You were talking about the many hats you wear in your current position. With that, the job can be isolating. It can be emotional and rather heavy at times. So what keeps you grounded in a small rural community when everyone knows you and you may not be able to get away from the job like you would hope for? So basically, what keeps you grounded? I'm interested. Yeah.
It definitely is interesting being in a small school, because Matt's seeing it now, and I saw it when I was principal. You're the only principal. He's PK 12. So he doesn't have even another elementary or high school teacher he can talk to. One thing that I really love is just the networking in our state. NCSA does a great job. I've met some wonderful, wonderful people, leaders that I can just connect to. Technology is nice because you can do a Zoom meeting. But anytime I ever need to reach out to anybody, and I found this to be true also in the superintendent role, I can do that. But I think you also have to have a great, I appreciate working with Matt, because I know if I'm frustrated about something, I can go to him and he and I can have this conversation and we can kind of work it out together. I can talk to my husband and he keeps everything pretty confidential for me, but he doesn't see things the same way I do because he's not in that administrator role. But I think just making sure that you have people that you you trust and you know, and you can pick up that phone and just make that phone call. But also just Matt and I being able to, yesterday was a great example of that. We had to have several small meetings, and our AD was in on that, and we really worked through some problems together, but just our teamwork and collaboration helped get us through that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and so I'm very thankful to Keri, because with her being the principal for like 5 years before this, I can go to her with the questions specifically tailored for Crawford. Okay. I mean, I can reach out to other principals like in Shadron, and that's fine. And it's helpful. But when I have a specific situation that involves a small school, like Crawford's unique situation, I just go to Keri. And that's been really, really helpful for me, very supportive. But yeah, like she said, we got the Region 5 Principals Conference, and we talk, give each other ideas, and so that helps keep us grounded. For me, outside of school, I have my family, my mom and sister right down the road in Shadron, so that kind of helps too. I mean, obviously I don't talk to them about the school, but it's just nice to kind of get away, and they can just enjoy life, I guess, with them outside of school. So that's nice, because as I go home, I have 4 cats is all, so I just yell at them or something like that.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a fact I did not know about Matt. 4
There
cats.
you go.
Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of, on one hand, you have a really strong internal team, and you really lean on each other and trust each other internally, but you also keep the balance of connecting with outside, like the NCSA groups and other regional administrators around to support you with your thinking. So thank you for that. It's February, and I wouldn't be the first educator to say February gets to be kind of a hard time of the year in education. We've been at it a long time. Not this year, but some years the weather's not so lovely in February. But what is it? What habits or what boundaries are you sustaining to make sure that you're avoiding that burnout, especially the first year in these roles that you're in?
I guess, for me, I miss the kids, but I just find ways to interact with the kids and the teachers, because even though, if you've ever been to Crawford, our campus, both buildings are very close together. So we're very close, but my office seems very isolated just because I'm not interacting on a daily basis unless I make myself do that. That's why I'm a teammates mentor, and so that gives me time to get out of my office, connect with students. Of course, I have a senior in high school, so following him around for sports and activities, being a mom is great. And then just finding times to get into the classroom, because if I were to sit behind my desk, I would probably have burnout, but making sure I go and see the reason why I'm doing my job every day really helps me stay grounded and keep my focus on putting the students and the teachers first.
For me, my biggest thing, and I've done this several times, is if it's kind of a rough day, I'll go to the preschool and see if any of them will give me a hug. That's always kind of nice. They are definitely a cute group, so that certainly helps. And then just being out in the hallways and just seeing the students, whether it's kindergarten or whether it's 8th grade, saying hi and interacting with them, and it does help you remember that they're the job. They're the reason that we are here. And so that helps keep you grounded and remember, not to be burnt out. And another thing I do outside of school is I do enjoy exercising. So I'll get up in the morning and do my elliptical machine and run on the treadmill as much as possible. So that certainly helps. But yeah, just like Keri said, just getting out and about and seeing the kids. That's a big one for me, getting to see the kids.
That's my favorite part of hanging out in Crawford too, because there's one hallway you go down and it's preschool, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. And as a recovering elementary teacher, those are my favorite people in the world. I think I say that too every time we head that direction. They just give you a little lighter, pep in your step. They're just fun to be around. So So here's sort of more of a reflective rhetorical question. What's one truth or one lesson that you've learned from your time in leadership, either this first year in this role or over the years that you've been leaders other places? A truth or a lesson you've learned?
I don't know if it's really, I think it's just something that I've learned over time. I've been out of the classroom. I was a principal in Morrill for 11 years, and then I was 4 years in Crawford. So for 15 years, I've been out of the classroom. And so I just have to remember that times are changing, kids are changing, teachers are changing, and I don't really know all the answers anymore. And so sometimes just making sure that I find out with the teachers or alongside the teachers, reach out if I'm not sure, but don't just assume that it's going to be the same way as it was for me 15 years ago.
Matt?
For me, the biggest lesson I've learned is you can't do it all. So when I was at another school as a principal, it was small enough I was able to do a lot more hands-on, but here you cannot do it all. So I really lean on the teachers, Mrs. Homan especially, to just kind of help me with things. Just taking care of field trips, setting up 100 days of school celebrations and things like that. You got to trust your staff. And they do a great job here. They really do. And we got a lot of go-getters, and that's been a real blessing. But it certainly made things a lot less stressful.
Nice. So just leaning into each other is sometimes helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. Ryan, you're up.
Yeah, Matt. Hey, I just wanted to follow up on your work with Julie and the IPG. There's been a huge shift in instructional leadership and really trying to equip principals with that role and embracing that role. The IPG has done a lot. Can you talk to us a little bit about maybe what that's done for your confidence as an instructional leader, and maybe how your mindset has maybe shifted a little bit due to that work?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. I did not know much about phonemic awareness and phonics and all that stuff. Again, being a social studies teacher 7 through 12. So for me, just learning what goes on, what it should look like in the classroom. Even teachers like, hey, don't drop your jaw, things like that. I would have never have known until this year. So having Julie help me with that and following these guides has helped a lot in terms of confidence and what to look for. Like I was telling the teachers when I was rolling these out to them, I said, I can walk into your classroom and tell you if your kids are engaged, or, if they're off task, or obviously if they're messing around, things like that. That's easy. But in terms of the science of the reading, that's helped a lot in terms of confidence, knowing what to look for and to help them improve their instruction.
I really appreciate how thoughtful Matt has been with his teachers about how that rollout has happened. Because he was a great social studies teacher, but there's not a lot of crossover between elementary primary reading and social studies. And so he was really thoughtful about wanting to learn this and knowing that his teachers had a lot of knowledge. So I just appreciate that, you didn't have any ego about this. You really wanted to learn, and you really tapped into your teacher's expertise to help you. And they do. We walk into classrooms to do walkthroughs and coaching, and they are helpful, and they point things out and share things with us while we're on those walkthroughs. So it's just a really good culture, and it's a really effective way to roll that IPG out, if that's something that your school is doing. So.
And I really appreciate had Julie to reach out to, because where I was the principal there and now I'm in a new role and Matt took over, I like him to be able to build that relationship and autonomy himself with the teachers without me being the person kind of coaching him. It's really helpful to have somebody else that he can reach out to and build that culture on his own.
So it was important then for you to be able to step back and let him put some boundaries around that and let him have some self-directed places to do that. So that's thoughtful, because you could create an issue without even an intention of doing that if you weren't thoughtful about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Keri's done a great job of, she's very laissez-faire, very hands-off, and really trusts me. But at the same time, I mean, more since first semester gone in to her with a lot of like, hey, what would you do in this situation? And so, yeah, it's a great balance that she has. It certainly could be kind of a tough environment otherwise if it was the other way. So, yeah, that's been really, really, really great working relationship with Mrs. Homan. So.
I might interject in and ask, what have you learned from each other from watching Matt step into that role, Keri, and doing that in a way that makes sense to him and according to his sort of leadership style, right? I'm sure there are things that just, oh, I would have never thought to do it that way, or it's really cool that you took this approach, kind of thing. And given your experience having worn those shoes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think every day we still find things that we're like, oh yeah, we would do this different, and it's fine. And I'll just say, well, this is how I did it, but this is okay if you change it. So it could be something as simple as the other day we were talking about 6th grade graduation. And I'm like, I had a 6th grade teacher that wanted to do 6th grade graduation. And so I let her run with that idea, but we have a new principal and a new 6th grade teacher. So if the two of you decide that doesn't need to be the way it is anymore, we might have some parents that are like, oh, but I was looking forward to this. But it only takes that first year for something like that to be okay again. And it's just little tiny things that come up in the day to day that it's like, yeah, just because this is the way it was doesn't mean it has to stay that way. And I probably remind myself that as much as I remind him that.
Yeah, and I should say I really haven't changed a whole lot because things were laid out real well. I knew coming into this position, even before I started looking over what Keri did, I was like, well, I know I don't want to come in with my hair on fire and make a lot of changes. But then as I saw what Keri did, I'm like, well, that makes sense. So we're focusing on data, focusing on MTSS, and that's about all the things that I've really wanted to try to, I guess, change, add, however you want to say that. So.
Yeah. I have a question. I've been dying to ask this question of Matt, but I'm interested in, do you have any lessons from your experience or just history in general? Because he's really a history guy. Figures in history or historical leadership advice or your own experience leadership advice that was either so good you have to use it every day or so bad that you have to like avoid it at all costs?
So thanks for asking that. I read a book a couple of years ago about George Washington. I can't remember who the author is, and Chernick, I think is his name. And in there, George Washington was famous for a quote that said, many a mickle makes a muckle, or something like that. Basically, many small things make a big thing. And so one thing, you don't want to let the little things go. Like I said, we had a situation yesterday that we dealt with, and it's just one of those things, you let it go, it's going to get bad. And so I try to focus on the little things, and if it needs to be corrected, we correct it. If it's, you can't let the little things pile up on you, or you get in a lot of trouble. So yeah, George Washington, just in terms of, you look at those small things, because they do make a big difference in the long run if you don't attend to them properly. So yeah, so I'm sure I got that quote wrong, but yeah, George Washington's leadership, definitely with that one. Don't make me go history nerd on you. So
how about you, Keri?
I think the biggest change, I guess I don't know that this is even answering your question, but one of the things I thought of when I first got the superintendent job, the first thing that I was tasked with was finding my replacement. And I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. There were other principal jobs all over the Panhandle and across the state that I was like, how am I going to find somebody for Crawford? And it's got to be somebody really good. And because I wanted to be able to step into my new role and not worry and know that the teachers and kids were taken care of. And so that was my first task. And then my second task was probably even harder because Matt just kind of walked in. It just kind of all worked out perfectly. But then I went from 2 offices, one in the elementary, one in the high school, and had to put all of my stuff into one little tiny office. So that was kind of a hard task. But
Yeah. Andrew, do you want to take us home?
Yeah, I've just really appreciated the opportunity to listen in and to learn. And we hope that, you alluded to it earlier, that this is a space where ideas can be shared. And whether that's from a context that's like yours or not, right? There's obviously those opportunities through those kind of collegial conversations to pick each other's brains a little bit for ideas and good piece of practice. So with all of that kind of being foundational to our effort here, I guess a wondering that I have is what you would need or seek out in addition to, you mentioned the Region 5 Principals Conference, and that Julie is a resource for you also. But how else do you go about finding opportunities to learn and grow, and recognizing too that there's the challenge of just finding the time period, right? But how important that is, though, for us to continue with the, landscape in education, whether it's literacy or some of the technology advance. I mean, things move and change quickly. So how do you keep up?
I mean, I think for me, we talked about Region 5 principals, but we also have Western Nebraska administrators, and I attend those meetings. Laura Barrett at ESU 13 also has, for all of the ESU 13 superintendents, we have meetings where we go and we visit, and keeping up on the legislature, making sure that you read through your emails. They really do a great job of keeping you informed. And so then just making sure that if there's a Zoom about legal, from the lawyers, you attend that and you listen and absorb everything you can. And then just talking to each other. Our teachers, if they're taking professional development and it's something that we can attend, learning along with them, I think is important, because you can't help them if you're not understanding what they're hearing and getting firsthand. So.
Yeah. Kind of the same thing. It's not just the Region 5. I'm thinking administrator days there in July is a great way, not just to learn things, but to network and form relationships with principals, so that if you need to reach out to them, hey, they're out there. NERCSA, there's that conference I've never been to, but that's here in March, and plan is to attend that. And hopefully that'll be able to network and get some great ideas for small schools. But it's all about those relationships. The great thing, I mean, I through words training, I was able to talk to the principal and guidance counselor of Lewiston schools, about what they do for reading instruction and interventions, and not afraid to reach out to principals. Are always obviously very gracious to help you, and so that's the biggest thing, is networking and forming those relationships. And just sounding board for your questions.
And I hope that's what we can be about with this show and with these kind of efforts, is to just point out the fact that we're actively trying to do that across conferences and connections that you make as a result of those. You can follow up on informally and through the structures that are in place in our service agencies. And like you said, legal support. I mean, it comes from everywhere. And as we can provide support for our educators too, Keri, like you were mentioning, then they feel supported, and that collaboration with you and your staff can kind of change and shift to meet the needs and the conversations and the best practices of the time. And I get so excited about all of that, and just love that we can, in this platform, try to highlight that in some small way, that this is happening, and it's happening with folks across the state and consistently. So thank you all for your time, for all your leadership at Crawford. And I'll say thanks to our C team too for the opportunity to highlight this connection. Anything to say before we bring things to a close?
Thank you for the opportunity to be on the show.
Thanks
Andrew.
for everything you do.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
We
Thanks for
appreciate
your time.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we will look forward to seeing everybody again in about 2 weeks' time, where we will feature Jamie Cook, the literacy officer for the Nebraska Department of Education, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that literacy effort. So thanks, and have a great Friday, everyone.